Okay. Journalism versus commentary. Now, this is a point. The other day, Tim Pool was saying about how there aren't any Republican journalists, they're all commentators, or conservatives. Now, the point is, journalism, that you're saying that's just reporting unbiased news. Well, the left is not reporting unbiased news, so I don't know what he's talking about. Why should he call them journalists? Because they are biased. So, anyway, the news itself are basically headlines. You know, a terror attack here, President Trump goes to the UK, the fire here, train wreck there, so-and-so is elected. The straight news, if you're going to call that journalism, I wouldn't call that journalism, because just reporting headlines? Reporting headlines, it doesn't take a brain. I mean, yeah, I'll believe that there was, you know, if I hear on CNN that there was an explosion over here or there, okay, I'll believe them. You know, things like that. Basically, you hear the basic headline, and then people comment on it and talk about what it means in relation to society, where the bias is coming from, and all the different factors that go into it. And bottom line is, I don't think you really... I think the commentary is actually more important than just straight, you know, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Okay, so you hear that this happened. So what's so great about that? So basically, the personality, and I think really the opinions of the presenters is really what makes their show their show. I mean, like on Fox News, Tucker Carlson, his personality is what makes his show. Laura Ingraham, you know, any of the other commentators you see on YouTube, people tune in because they want to hear their favorite personality talk about the news. That's why they tune in. They don't want their favorite personality just to come on and say, Trump went to the UK, he landed safely, he met the Queen, they went to lunch, so-and-so was there, they had dinner. No one wants to watch that. They watch because of the personality. You know what I mean? I mean, yes, there's a place for just, I guess, reporting the straight news, but I don't think how Tim can call the left journalists, though they're not. And they're just as much commentators as the right. So, it's the personality, and I believe you learn more, because I don't really watch Tim's channel, Subverse. I don't. Occasionally I watch one or two, but they're lifeless. Sorry. I mean, that's nice, but I like his opinion better, because the reason I watch him is because I like his logic, I like his thoughts, and that's what I want to hear. That's why it's more popular. So I believe that you can get straight news from anybody. Straight news is a headline, period. But people want to know what things mean, and they'd like to know more information. They'd like to know things deeper on the subject. Like when I watched John Miller talking about Sadiq Khan's problems in London and the knife problems, and then he tells a story about how the knife repository was broken into and the knives were stolen. I mean, that is the kind of thing you want to hear, extra little things. Yeah, that's straight news, but it supports the main point of the story is that Sadiq Khan is a bad mayor and has ridiculous policies like all the leftists. So that's the bottom line. People want to hear more than just headlines, and that's why I say that Subverse is not as popular as the rest of Tim's channels. So what do you think? Do you think that we need more people just reporting headlines, or what do you think of the commentaries? Do you tune into channels because you want to see the personality and hear the thoughts of the presenter and not just have them repeat headlines? So comment below and we'll keep the conversation going. You know, I was making the video about saying how that the straight news is mostly a lot of headlines, and the personalities of the reporters is what really holds the viewers. For the most part it is. So, and I said I'll probably get some pushback because I'm saying that the straight news are boring headlines and people commenting on it. Now, look at it this way. There's bias no matter what. No matter what. And you know why this is? Because in the world, there are millions and billions of news stories happening each and every day. And the producers at the news stations and sites, they have to decide which ones they think are important and which ones they think the public wants to hear about. So somebody is picking and choosing which stories to cover, you know? So therefore, whoever is picking which stories to cover has a bias, you know? Like I noticed that RT sometimes covers, Palestinian issues, problems, and they cover those fairly regularly. And I know, and like I said, I don't think Fox covers Israel regularly, but the bottom line is that somebody on the RT staff is, Palestinian. And so that's why they're picking those stories to cover. And the same goes with anybody else. Like, for instance, Tim the other day, Tim has not been reporting on Tommy Robinson going back to prison. He has not been reporting it. He did a few other videos on Tommy Robinson, but then he has dropped it. And Tommy Robinson going back to prison was a huge story. Huge, huge, huge. So Tim picked what stories he wanted to report, and he didn't pick Tommy Robinson's story. So there is bias. I mean, there's a billion stories going on, and you can only do so many on each news station. So whoever's picking the news, their bias is going into their choice of programming. Okay? So that's a point I wanted to make, like I said, because I know you'll probably push back on me when I say that just straight news is boring and that all news has some bias and it's the personalities of the presenters is what you are tuning in for, actually. And also another point I want to make, that you can say you're unbiased, but someone else will say you are. Now, for instance, on Subverse the other day, Tim did a video about, the White House Trump holds summit to fight against censorship and for freedom of speech. Okay, to him, that is an unbiased news statement. But to the left, their headline was something like, Trump gathers a far-right group of circus clowns to conspire against Americans. So you see, whereas Tim would say his is unbiased, the left would say his is biased. So it's really hard to have no bias. I said if you have absolutely no bias, then you're just regurgitating headlines. And like I said, I don't know about you, but I tune in because I like to hear my favorite personality analyze and just dissect the news stories and what they mean and what our ramifications are for us and our prospects and our future and our past, and just synthesize everything together. Like I said, you can get the headlines just about anywhere. Alrighty, thanks for watching. Let freedom ring.